What does doubling down mean in the current context? A war-weary public, a potential for quagmire in places like Syria, and other crises around the world, whether it's Russia and Ukraine or tension in the South China Sea.
Is it time for us to double down? I would say it was past time. We've allowed the Islamic State to gather too much momentum. And is doubling down enough? I would say no. We're not doing enough now to say that doubling down would be sufficient. We need a comprehensive all instruments of national power approach that is adequately and immediately resourced. We need clearly stated goals and objectives, and that includes an international coalition that the U.S. must lead.
What history has shown during this entire fight is that when you put pressure on them, you can degrade them, you can disrupt plotting, you can reduce the chances that they will be successful. And when you take that pressure off, history has been very clear that they resurge, they rebuild, and they gain capabilities to attack us. And we are under threat today from al-Qaeda in Pakistan, al-Qaeda in Yemen, and ISIS. And there are places in the world that if we don't watch, we're going to face a 9/11 style threat again. So double down, absolutely.
Good. So while I support limited airstrikes along the current lines, I think the doubling down that we need is in the form of intensive engagement, including through financial and military incentives, with regional partners who are the most immediately threatened by ISIS. And above all, we must stay the course and push the Iraqis to get past their divisions in Baghdad, reform their military, and take the fight to ISIS. It is principally their challenge.
We decided not doubling down was necessary, and history has shown us that we were able to contain the adversary with that approach. So my question to you is, Indonesia, Philippines, Yemen, Somalia, every day, every year we had a new threat, and now we have another one. Why are we going to change? The past has shown success. Why don't we apply the same instruments of power in the future?
I guess one of the things that strikes me about the debate that we're having now over these groups is the apparent lack of confidence in the amazing improvements that we have made since 9/11. We are much better at intelligence. We are much better at training and assisting other countries. We are much better in building capacity. We are much better in tracking travelers. Someone may get through, and someone may act up in the United States. There is going to be violence in our future, but the fact is these are low-level threats. It's the high-end threat we have to worry about. And I agree with Mike. We have to keep the pressure on al-Qaeda groups everywhere. It's how we keep the pressure on. And if we put U.S. Forces on the field, we're giving them a target, we're giving them a way to radicalize more, we're giving them a way to recruit more. We can work through partners around the world to achieve the kind of success that Phil was describing.
There are two al-Qaeda groups in Syria, al-Nusra and ISIS. Both of them have said, both of them have made very clear that the United States of America will be a target when they settle into a safe haven. Both of them have been very clear about that. And one of the things you learn in foreign policy over time is that your adversary tells you exactly what they're going to do. Bin Laden did it, al-Nusra and ISIS are doing it.
My point is, you can talk to me about IEDs, snipers, the control of geography, weapons. To my mind, these are the characteristics of insurgent groups. They are not the characteristics of the slivers of organizations that I witnessed that threaten America. We do not need instruments of power against people, frankly, going against Baghdad. I worry about people going against New York. And the instruments of power we used were not doubling down. They were saying, let's take out a scalpel, use foreign partners like the Pakistanis and Yemenis, use coalitions like the African Union, use political partners who support you like Hadi in Yemen, and finally, when you need to, use U.S. intelligence and scalpel strikes to take out the leadership. And by the way, it worked.
We are, across two administrations, an absolute fail on what we call Phase 4 operations. That is coming in behind with a civil-military partnership where there's a handover, and there's, this is now a euphemism that everybody hates, nation building. But by the way, that's what you've got to do. We didn't adequately plan for the Phase 4 ops in Iraq. This administration didn't plan for it in Libya, and we've seen the results of that.
We need to encourage our partners to do more. What France did in Mali was a great thing. What the Ethiopians and the Kenyans did in Somalia was a very important thing. We need to support that kind of action. And then we need to do whatever action we need to do on top of all that to keep the pressure on the terrorists.
I think more than encourage partners, we've got to be clear about what our expectations are and what our needs are. they are uniquely positioned to either fund or do that we are not. And so we have to be crystal clear. That's why it's so important. Goals and objectives clearly stated by the President about what it is we seek to achieve, and then private bilateral conversations with our partners in the region about what we need them to do to achieve that.
I think we really need to take a very deep breath and think about how we match our means and our resources to our goals and what our priorities are. One foreign fighter coming to the U.S. And going crazy with a gun is not going to bring the country down. We have to defend against it. We have to do the best we can. But we need to start thinking again about what our grand strategy really looks like and how we deal with the various challenges we face.
What do we expect in this American experiment? That is, give our kids an education and be healthy. We can't perform exceptionally in the fundamentals of this country, and we want to double down on a campaign when we've already realized in multiple circumstances that a targeted approach succeeds in blunting threat. I got a three-letter word for you, and that is why.